For anyone curious, that is the sound that chickens make when a sky predator flies by. That happens to just be a robin, but they make that noise anytime anything flies by. It's better to be safe than sorry. Now they're giving the all clear crowing. Oops, it was just a robin. You're all good. Just doing this quick video of the yard. Doing this quick video of the yard because we got the roses in bud stage. And for all I know, tomorrow they'll be blooming and not budding. So I want to get some here. And they've got beautiful, it's not dew, it is, it rained yesterday. But it would look similar to this if it would dew. And we're almost done to choke cherry, wild cherry blossom season. It's a very short season. Of course, the real purpose of them is their fruit, not their flowers, but I do love their flowers. They smell amazing. If you've never smelled a choke cherry, they smell like vanilla, basically. And when you have this many trees in your yard, as we do, the whole area just smells like vanilla for a few weeks, which is just beautiful. I think I may have overgroomed this tree. I think I might need to leave a few branches that don't bear fruit on it, because I think it's getting a little heavy laden with the blossoms there, which means it's probably gonna be quite heavy once the fruit fills up on this one. I may have to put a stick up to hold that one branch up so it doesn't snap. This would be a good year for choke cherries. Lots of jams and juices. Here's another choke cherry that I have been grooming. Still has quite a lot at the bottom needing to be done, but the top's starting to get there. That's really starting to produce. If you have choke cherries on your property and you're not getting a lot of fruit off of it, you have to remove the branches that don't bear fruit, like that pile right there, and keep the ones that flower. They flower the second year. See, new growth, no flowers really on that. And the next year that will be full of flowers. So be careful when you're pruning, because you can prune off branches that will bear fruit. But if it's been there for a year and there's no fruit on it, no flowers on it, and the tree is, a fair size, then remove that branch. Like, these branches are never going to bear any fruit. So I'm going to remove a good chunk of these later. Same thing. The back has fruit, the front does not. That's because the front is new growth and the back is the older growth. So this won't bloom till next year, all the new growth. This is another choke cherry tree that I have been grooming. This one I've been grooming for years. I let the top go too high though. Usually kept the top sorta, and a few times I couldn't get the top cut. Now the tops are humongous, but that's fine, because they still bear fruit really well at the bottom. And the bottom branches aren't showing any sign of not bearing fruit well. They can have the tops as well, because then the buds will enjoy the top. So eventually I'm going to have to chop the top down, or the bottom will stop being scrubby, and I will stop having fruit at all in this tree. And it will only be a tree for buds, and the buds have plenty of trees. This tree is for us to eat from. Those I said they can have the top. Here's another one I let get too tall. And this one is not producing extremely well at the bottom. So after berry season, I'm going to have to saw those two big ones off. And then when you do that, it will start swabbing at the bottom again. And it will produce better fruit if you leave it where all the fruit goes high. It's a lot harder to harvest. And it stops getting swabby at the bottom. You want to keep them swabby at the bottom, so you have plenty of fruit for you to eat and for the birds. Lilies are getting bigger. They will be blooming pretty soon. None of these are grooming very well. I don't think they're getting enough light, and I may just end up removing them altogether because they're between two larger trees. This and the mud cherry. It's all done. The fruit isn't very good. You can make some jams and stuff out of it, but it's not really that tasty. I generally just leave them for the buds. This one got a little taller than I wanted to too, but it doesn't really matter because this is just for the looks more than anything else. So, and there's plenty of fruit as long as I keep the bottom. Now a lot of people don't. Not a lot of people remove the swabbery at the bottom of the mud cherry because they want the look of the gold bark. But I still want my tree swabby, so they produce better. You can still see the gold bark there. I just leave the swabs at the bottom still to make it more. Otherwise it become more like a tree and you're more likely to lose it than if you keep it swabby. And these cherry trees do not have hanging. The mud cherry does not normally have hanging drooping branches. What I did was trim off any branch that didn't droop until the majority of them were droopy. So that's kind of why it has a droopy look to it. This choke cherry will never bear fruit because I always pull off except for a few little flowers, because I always pull off the branches, because this one I just made as a cute shade tree for the animals and food for the goats here. These ones I have to remove because they're gonna choke out the look of the lilacs. So I think I'm gonna saw them down to the ground later on. And then this one is just a shade tree for this little yard here. So it just gets knocked off the top. I haven't really been paying attention to grooming it for flowers or fruits, just whatever ones droop nicely to cause a comfortable, pretty shade tree for this little mother duck coop, mother duck yard for the mother ducks. Gotta put better fencing on because they keep getting through this because it keeps getting holes and things in it. So I've got to replace the fencing later so the mother duck doesn't get out for babies and she can stay somewhere safe until they're a few weeks old with them. Okay, I guess it was going to be a quick video, but it's a little bit more than a quick video because I started talking in it. This is a mock orange. It smells amazing. It doesn't produce any fruit, but the blossoms look like orange blossoms. And it's a very beautiful shrub, which you'll see when it starts blooming. Should be fairly quick. Buds are starting to form everywhere. This is really growing and flowering well. Lilies, irises, and milkweed. When these are bloom, that's very beautiful. More lilies. I'm not sure if these ones are shaded out too much. They still bloom every year, but I might have to move them. The irises are getting a little too buried with the animals. If you have animals and irises need to keep their root out of there, root above the ground a little bit. So if you have them and you want them to bloom, you have to make sure you remove that and have animals constantly making messes and growing your topsoil. And I've got to transplant a bunch of them in the wrong spot. Later. And we're almost done with the honeysuckle shrubs. These will produce little red berries, which are poisonous to people, but some birds like them. And I love the shrubs, and they smell really nice. They're just a wild shrub. A lot of people don't like them, but I like them. Got pretty blooms. Good for the bees. Good for the wild birds. Produce nice shade area for the chickens. And chickens like to nibble off the leaves. You can see at the bottom. And the raspberry bushes, they're not blooming yet. The blueberries are already done blooming and producing fruit, starting to produce fruit. The green, of course, not edible fruit yet, but the raspberries haven't started blooming yet. I don't see a lot of blossoms in this year, so I don't know if it's going to be a very good raspberry season. But the choke cherries are making up for that if it's not a very good raspberry season. We'll see. They're only just starting to bud out. They may end up sowing. More promise later.